Ugh, ugh, this bright. What is this light? What, what's going on? Not to worry. What do you mean? We're going to take good care of you. Uh, oh.
Hello, plant community. Thanks for tuning into this channel. My name is Pam, and welcome everybody to the Plant Triage, where we're basically having a casual conversation, coming up with ideas on how to save some of our ailing plants. Now, if you happen to have a plant in your collection that's not doing well and you don't know why and you don't know what to do about it, then this would be a perfect opportunity for you to showcase your plants here in this series. If you are interested, all you have to do is send me a message on my Instagram. You can pick one plant that you feel you need some help with. Take as many photos of this plant as possible. Provide me with your name. Let me know what part of the world you are actually growing your plants in. And as much information that you can provide to us, it will help us be able to diagnose your plants and give you as many solutions to help save it. So what information are we looking for, you may ask? Well, I'm about to tell you, my planty friend. The information we need that would be vital, I think, for diagnosing these plants is actually, of course, the plant type, how you're growing the plant, like the watering, how often you water the plant, what type of lighting condition this is in, what type of soil mixture that you have it in. The more information you can provide, the better it will help us talk about it and give us ideas, not only from me, but from this beautiful plant community as well. So before we jump into today's patient, you guys, don't forget, if you have not, subscribe, and remember, push those thumbs up. And if you find out that a friend of yours could benefit from this video, like as well as share. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. Today's patient is actually from Kathy, who lives in Wisconsin. She is having an issue with her Ficus triangularis. Let's show the first photo somewhere along here. You guys, as you can see, she doesn't have very many leaves. She's had this plant since October. For a couple of months, it was doing fine, and then all of a sudden, as ficuses are known for, they tend to drop the leaves, and now she's in a desperate attempt to try to make this plant look a little bit better. Take a look at photo 2 that she shared as well. Right here, you see the kind of lighting situation she has. So yeah, let's just jump right into diagnosing. So as I pull up my phone, aka my chart, I kind of put my notes down so that I can make sure I stay on topic and point out the most important things. Now, some of the things, you guys, that I discuss, if y'all feel like y'all want to add more, or in addition to what I'm saying by more, please chime in so that we can all help Kathy out. So first, before I even get into the Ficus triangularis, okay, you guys, right now, currently, we are in the middle of some form of a storm, and I don't know if you guys could hear it, I heard the actual, thunder, so I was kind of being quiet, considering I'm in this room with all these windows. So, sorry. So, I digress. Let me go back. So, Ficus triangularis, this plant, first of all, is not what I would consider a beginner-friendly plant. So for all of you beginner plant parents out there, let's gain some more knowledge. I recommend gaining more knowledge before we dive into this plant. I don't have this plant in particular, but I am familiar with some ficuses because I do have the Benjamina as well as the regular burgundy and ruby as well. So I do have some experience, but it did not stop me from diving in and just dissecting that plant and providing you with some of the information. Now, I'm going to touch on 3 subjects in regards to this plant. The 3 subjects will be light, watering, as well as humidity. Now, I'm pointing these 3 factors out because In total, for all three of these, the key for this particular plant, you guys, is actually consistency. Whichever way, whatever you want to change it, whichever way you want to do it, this plant needs consistency in its life. If it does not have it, it will tell you what you're going to receive because of it, and which will be hence dropping of the leaves. So I want to talk about light a little bit. This plant needs a lot of light. Um, Luckily for Kathy and I, we're living in the same country, so we're pretty much about to enter, or if we're already in the growing season. So one of my recommendations to actually bring this plant back would be to put that plant outside. Now, if you choose to put this plant outside, I strongly recommend it needs to be bright and direct light. When you put it outside, do not put it in a place where it can get direct light. It will not like it. It will probably make the plant worse. From what I can see from picture 2, if we can pull it up, again, as y'all can see, she has it growing underneath a grow light, but also notice in the photo that there's windows in the area where you're growing. So it's good to know that you are giving it the artificial light that's direct, and that lighting is actually fine. And it's also, I guess, from the window, it may be getting some dappled, I would classify that as a medium light situation there. Now, I'm not quite sure, Kathy, how long you have this plant underneath of the grow light, but it's highly recommended that if you do so, that the plant should at least be under that grow light for at least 10 hours. So, I don't know if that's the issue or not, but if you're not having it under 10 hours, then just bump up the light and just see what happens at that point. Now, watering. This is a little tricky, in my personal opinion, because I think the watering schedule varies per the ficus type that you have. Let's start there. And not only the ficus type, the conditions of how you're growing the plant. The soil. Is the plant drying out faster than it should? Now, you mentioned that you did pot it, and I'm looking at the photo. From what I could see, it looks like you may have it in a chunky mix, which is probably good. Depending on your watering style, I go for a chunky mix myself. But what I think, you have to observe this plant to see how well it does. Does this plant prefer to be completely dried out, or would it prefer to get a drink when it's at least 75% dried out? I would have to let you be the deciding factor on that, since you're physically there with the plant. I'm not quite sure if, a watering schedule would be right for the plant. You made a mention that it is getting watered once a week. I don't know if it's scheduled because it's once a week, or if you notice that, okay, this plant is drying out once a week. I'm recommending for you to, if you're watering the plant when it's completely dried out, I'm recommending to try to maybe add water or give it water when at least 75% of the soil is dry. Another thing, sidebar 2, which in regards to this, I feel like I need to talk about this or address it. With our plants that have the bark, we want to make sure, like where the areas where your plant has no leaves, we want to make sure or check to ensure that those stems are still alive. And a way to do that, if you don't know how, I'm going to show you guys this example, 2 examples really. And I'm bringing the croton to you. I know it's not a ficus, but it has a woody stem nonetheless. And I'm not quite sure if y'all remember when this plant was really ailing. Like, I literally lost all the leaves on this plant, and it had actually 2 branches on here that kind of died, and I had to cut the branch off, and I think I was stuck literally with just 1 leaf yet left last growing season. And now, as you can see, it's back full. It's full because of certain things that I did, and I do believe it has a lot to do with, of course, I put the plant outside. That was 1. 2, I made sure this plant loves to stay a little bit more hydrated than others. I have it in a very chunky mix. But one of the things I do recommend you guys trying, I'm not saying that it's going to work each and every time, but it is a thing I feel deep that needs to be considered. And that's in regards to the stem, the branch, more or less. So this right here, as you can see, you want to check to see if it's live. We don't know because it looks like a stick, right? But if you peel away, and I'm just using my fingernails, as you can see right now, currently my nails are not long. I pretty much just look at the stem itself and I take my nail and I try to scrape a little bit of that brown. I'm doing it right now so you guys can see. I'm taking my nail and I'm kind of scraping. You don't want to go too deep because I'm not trying to get the plant a wound, but I am testing to see if that stem is still alive. Now, I'm not quite sure if the camera picks it up. You see where I may have, I think I scratched it along here. Can you see that green? I want to make a bigger indentation because I think this is really important. But when you peel away the brown, the bark, I guess, when you peel away that bark, you see it, and it's green like that. I think it's right here. I'm sorry, this pot is heavy. It's right here. That is letting you know that it is still alive. I have this Ficus, the ruby variety as well, with also a wooden stem. Now, I lost a lot of the lower leaves here, and sometimes the leaves, more than likely, give or take, the leaves won't come back, but then you'd be surprised, maybe it will. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm trying to take my nail to scratch away. And I don't know why I'm saying nail, because I wouldn't recommend, I mean, you can if you're careful with it, you guys, honestly, but if you think that you might wind up doing more harm than good if you bring out like a little knife or something sharp outside of your nail, then I wouldn't recommend doing it. So you see right here, this is another example. I just shaved that off. This is letting me know that this wood stem here is alive. So I'm pointing that out to you guys because on the photo, let's bring up that first photo. Let me take a look at it. I want to make sure. Okay, so if you take a look at the first photo, there's branches going out. Now, I'm not sure, 100% sure, if those leaves can start growing from there, but just hear me out. There's nodes on these branches. And so if you put them outside, if you put this plant outside or leave it in your house, Kathy, I'll leave it up to you. But I recommend probably when you water it, get a spray bottle and spray those stems, spray those branches with water, and just keep spraying it with water. And I think you may be surprised that leaves may, this varies depending on the plant, leaves may return on the plant. Now I'm going to go back to the croton just to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. Like I said before, it was 3 branches. 2 of them died off. They were dead because after I scratched the surface, they weren't green. They were actually brown, which is an indicator that the stem itself is dead. You don't see any green. There's no sign of life. So I kind of cut that off, and I was literally working just with the one stem that you guys see here. And so I did the same thing. I actually was spraying this entire thing. Now, as you can see right here, did not do much right here, but it did branch off. This section right here, as well as this section right here, just literally came out of the side. So these little bumps and grooves that's actually on here would be what's considered to be the node. And I want to show you, I hope it picks up. It's only grown a little bit from the top. But the majority of what you see here in regards to this plant, all is because I sprayed all of this. And all of these leaves that you're seeing actually did a new shoot. And I highly believe that it did come from spraying the leaves. So it's not spraying the leaves, but spraying the bark. So Kathy, when you get a chance, each time you water it, I recommend you doing that, especially if you're going to put it outside. I strongly encourage you to do that if you put it outside. And it'll be even safer to spray it down when you put it outside. Because if you're taking a little chance if you try to spray it inside right now. If you're inside of your home, is cool because you don't want to make the plant worse. It could potentially cause some form of like mold or maybe attract pests. I don't see that being an issue when you put it outside because it's outside is getting the proper air circulation and sun is out is helping absorb a lot of that moisture. So I don't know. You kind of like play around with it and see. Now, the last thing, humidity. Now, this might be a humidity issue as well. I'm not sure. A humidity issue as well. I'm not 100% sure about this. I'm only going off of maybe my personal experience. And I'll use my Ficus benjamina as an example. Now, granted, Ficus benjamina, as well as probably a Ficus triangularis, probably does not like to be moved. But what I do realize is that my benjamina does well if I move the plant from a good situation to an even better situation, and it won't give me a fuss. The fuss comes into play when we change the position and the source of where they were getting all of their care drastically changed, and it hasn't changed for the best. Example being, I had took my Ficus triangularis. I thought it was healthy enough. I took it out of the sunroom and I put it inside my home. Now I thought maybe, okay, well, as long as I put it underneath a grow light, it would be fine. But my plant was so used to being in here and not only getting, yes, it's getting a grow light, but it's also, which I wasn't being mindful of, getting a lot of natural light from all the windows that was in here. So once I brought it into the house, yes, it had a grow light and it was doing fine for a month or so, but then it just started dropping leaves out of nowhere and it came back looking like an ugly duckling. And so what I've been doing now, since I've learned from that, I move my plant, but I move my plant putting it outside. Outside was a recommendation from one of you guys, actually, and that actually helped bring my plant back. So the only time I'm moving her is literally back and forth from the sunroom to outside. And what I've noticed, last year was my first time doing that. When I brought her back, she dropped a little bit of leaves, but not very many throughout the dormant period. So I'm and I have a humidifier in here as well. So I'm saying all that. I had a humidifier in here. This is the only place in my home where I actually do have a humidifier. Inside my house where I'm growing my other plant babies is just I'm going off of the natural humidity in my house, which on any given day can range between a 45 to 51-ish percent. I guess that's medium, not very high. Not quite sure. So if you don't have a humidifier, I know you've heard of things such as pebble trays, and then you sit your plant on top. But from what I'm seeing, you look like you have your plants grouped in an area from the second photo. I would recommend, if you want to boost it up and you don't have a humidifier, why not use a bowl of water? I would say a bowl of water, plastic cup or whatever of water, and you just sit it right there. And I think from the grow light, it will help increase the evaporation of that water and with potentially increasing the humidity of that plant. How important humidity is in comparison to the water and the light, I would say the light and water are the two main focal points for this plant. Another thing I want to just encourage everyone, when we are trying to figure out what's going on with our plants and we have multiple ideas of what possibly it could be, I strongly recommend, if you have, dissect your suggestions. Meaning, if you think it's a lighting issue, then work on the lighting first. Monitor that plant to see if you see any improvements, or if you don't see any improvements. Let's say the plant is staying the same, but you've noticed that it's not increasing. Then you may want to change on the watering habit, because if you try, in my personal opinion, if you try multiple ideas at one time and let's say the plant does work, that's great. That's still a win-win, but we don't know or what actually did the trick. And I think if we have a better understanding of what actually did the trick to help that plant, then moving forward with any other plants that may be ailing in our collection, we could take what we've learned from our past plants, even though it could be different species and types, but we can still try the same remedies for that plant onto another species to see what works and vice versa. Make sense? I'm not sure, but keep in mind too, you guys, full disclosure, and like I said, everybody please from the plant community just chime in. None of us are botanists. I'm not a botanist, I'll put it like that, because I don't know who's watching me. Maybe some of you guys are botanists, but I am not a botanist, meaning that I don't have any scientific proof to verify any of the information that I'm saying, but I do love plants. I am a plant enthusiast, and I've been pushing myself to try different things to try to figure out what works versus what does not work. And so I'm just offering my tips of that. So I share that, and I keep constantly saying, take what I say as a grain of salt, but I strongly urge you to at least push the envelope, try different things, try different planting mediums if need be, different light situations, different ways of watering. I can't stress it enough. Light and water definitely goes, like, definitely hand in hand. So good luck to you, Kathy, in Wisconsin. Good luck with that Ficus triangularis. I know that is a very beautiful plant. And if you get the leaves to come back, which I do believe, I have faith in you that you will get this plant to come back, put it outside, and it probably will do miraculous things for you. So yeah, this ends this series or this episode of the Plant Triage. Don't forget, you guys, to comment. Let's help Kathy out in this beautiful plant community. Yeah, so this ends it, you guys. Keep in mind, if you love foliage as much as I do, and you love listening to planty things, subscribe, you guys. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. I really can't say it enough, you guys, because, hey, I really like communicating with you guys, and I'm hoping that you like me enough to just to show some form of support just by subscribing, liking, sharing, and of course, pushing those thumbs up. Push them up. That helps me get my channel out there, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm silly, but hey, I need your support, and I'm not going to be ashamed for asking you guys for that. And I appreciate all of the kind words and everything that you guys have been doing, giving me encouragement. I really do love you guys for that. Thank you so much. I couldn't do any of this without that support. Enjoy your day wherever you are in the world, and until next time, guys, much love. Bye.